a single national program has ever succeeded in India. Nothing. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, when Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister and Sam Pitroda was his scientific advisor, I think they rolled out STD booths right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and that was, according to me, the only government-driven development program which was uniformly successful. I can't think of any other program which is successful, and I will maintain that nothing else will be successful on a national level. Programs can only succeed if they are local. The idea can be a national idea, but the implementation and the ownership of that program has to be at the local level. So it's very, very important that the political leadership is taken at the local level and not merely focused on the national level. In fact, if you ask me, a member of parliament really doesn't touch a person's life. A member of parliament really doesn't touch a person's life. I mean, he's talking about national policy at a great level. It's the implementation which happens at the district level, at the state level is far more greater than that. And I think young people must focus on that first and foremost. Unless you take that leadership, you will never transform society. Ignoring government, ignoring politics, and ignoring political parties, we are ignoring our own future. And I know I'm speaking to an audience which is completely convinced about the importance of this. And I don't really need to come and reinforce that view to you. But the point is that we must go out and show leadership. Leadership is going and converting other people to believe in this and to bring them into the fold. Not necessarily, leadership is not necessarily going and leading a mob. Leadership is going and telling an idea, convincing people about that idea, and making sure that idea gets implemented. That is what real leadership is. And I hope all of you would have, in your own ways, not necessarily I was talking to Rahul and he was telling me a lot of them join NGOs, join political parties, go work in the back office of political parties or political personalities. In your own ways do that. And I'm absolutely convinced that leadership will come in this country. But as I've always said that, we don't need one or two national leaders. We need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of leaders at various levels. That's what will really bring about the change. If you need to have that kind of a revolutionary change in India, you need to have a mass surge of leadership at every level. If that happens, I'm very, very optimistic about the future of India. If you ask me, there's one thing we as a government should do massively in order to uplift this country. I think we, somehow or the other in our minds, we think we are competing with China. I don't know how many of you have been to China. I've been to China. I think we're completely missing the point. I don't think China competes with India at all. In my opinion, China in the short term competes with Japan on the economic sphere, and in the long term competes with America on the political sphere, political, military, superpower domination sphere. And we are simply not in the race with China because our infrastructure simply doesn't measure up to China. Nothing in our country will ever measure up to China. We might have these soft skills which are much better than China. We might pride ourselves that we have more English-speaking people in this country or we have more programmers in this country than China does. But these are all short-term victories which we'll have over China. But in the long term, we are simply not in the same ballpark as China because our infrastructure doesn't add up. If this country needs to surge ahead, equally for all the thirds of the people I mentioned, we need to constantly, continuously invest massively in infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm not only talking about superhighways, ports and airports. I'm talking about primary schools, I'm talking about low-cost housing, I'm talking about primary healthcare centers, I'm talking about preschools, I'm talking about electricity available to every villager, I'm talking about water being available. We are completely ignoring the basics. We are completely ignoring the basics and are talking esoterically about the greater growth in this country. Without that massive surge in investment and implementation in infrastructure, I really do not see our country actually competing with China or really becoming an economic superpower as we all think we would be. Ignoring infrastructure and we will simply not get there. If government has to do something, it has to constantly, continuously invest in infrastructure. And the biggest problem in India is we have a program for everything. There's a program to educate everybody, there's a program to give full employment, there's a program to give rural employment, there's a program to look after the girl child, there's a program to look after the Naga tribals, there's a program for everything. But our implementation skills are woefully bad because we try to implement them on a national level. Without empowering governments and communities at the lower level to implement these things. That is why I come back to the saying that leadership must happen at the grassroots level. Leadership must happen at the community level. So these schemes, however bland they might be, can get implemented at the level. So these are my opening remarks. I'll be happy to take questions from you and comments if any, sir. And please feel free to disagree with me as much as you want. I mean, yeah.
You said something
in this country, party there and the party machinery there seems to be a lot more comfortable when somebody who seems to have continuity with the old leadership is presented as the new leader or as the new symbol there. So that's symbolic leadership. For example, especially happens in India when somebody passes away, somebody of reasonable eminence passes away, the natural reaction of political parties and the machinery there seems to be to reach out to a symbolic link to that leadership. And that's happening in all political parties. It's not a Congress phenomena as the opposition always likes to term us.
So you said that there is an alternative.
Nice name, huh? Nixon Fernando. Which year were you born?
It was 69.
69. Oh, that's when Nixon became president. I thought 74 when he resigned. So, that's all.
There is no chance.
No chance for what? Nixon resigning?
No.